I actually went stand-up paddleboarding with some friends, and there was one woman in our group who didn't go in the water, and for the whole hour we were in the water during summer. It was such a beautiful day. When I asked her why she didn't join us, she said that she'd had 2 near-drowning experiences. The core focus was to spread the joy of swimming to all adults, because the water humbles you. It's what keeps drawing me back, is like there's a freedom that you experience when you can just float on your back without fear.
Hi everyone, welcome back to the show. Today, my co-host unfortunately couldn't make it, but I have a very lovely guest, and her name is Jacqueline Wong. Jacqueline is the founder of the Swim Project, where she teaches adults who have fear of water how to swim. Jacqueline, do you want to quickly introduce yourself and tell us about why you started the Swim Project and what inspired you?
Yes, thanks, Aadi, for having me on your podcast, and hi to all the listeners. So I'm Jacqueline, originally from New Zealand in Wellington, and I've grown up with a love of swimming. I was very fortunate to have had a great swim instructor, and was able to maintain swimming right through my childhood, and well into my working life. I've also encountered a few of other water activities such as surfing, paddleboarding. I've done some ocean swim events as well. So all of that has given me a great foundation and given me a very, made me passionate about swimming in general and wanting to share that with others.
Cool. And how do you get started with the Swim Project?
Yes, so I, after moving to Melbourne, I actually went stand-up paddleboarding with some friends, and there was one woman in our group who didn't go in the water, and for the whole hour we were in the water during summer. It was such a beautiful day, and she was sitting quite far away from the water. And when I asked her why she didn't join us, she said that she'd had 2 near-drowning experiences.
Ooh.
And on hearing that, coupled with the fact that there were so many drownings that summer in Melbourne and across Australia, I decided to do something about it. And I actually offered to teach her. And by the time by the time she thought about it and came back to me, I had already done my teacher of swimming and water safety qualification, as well as my community surf life-saving certificate.
Mm-hmm.
And she was part of my pilot program.
That's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah, because it's quite surprising that people in Australia have a fear of water, because we're all surrounded by water all the time. But yeah, I was watching one of your interviews, and you mentioned that the fear of water is actually more common in Australia than people might think. Why do you think that is?
I think that there's quite a few factors, and I think it has actually taken a couple of years for some of these maybe not so pleasant truths to surface.
Yeah.
And that includes, Australia is a very multicultural society. So we do have a lot of visitors, international students, migrants, refugees. So that makes up some of the challenge, because they have not grown up near the water and are maybe unaware of some of the dangers of things like rips,
Mm-hmm.
and never learned to swim. The other challenge is that now in schools, children are not meeting the national water safety standards at school. By
Oh,
the age of
wow.
12 and then by the age of 18, they're falling short, unfortunately. And that is also then their children not being able to swim or meet the criteria. And then they're becoming adults who are not confident in the water. Or maybe they're children who didn't enjoy lessons as a child, and had a large gap of not being in the water, and later on are not as strong in the water. So there's also adults who are naturally adventurous.
Mm-hmm.
So, we enjoy snorkeling, we enjoy going on adventures, being in the outdoors. And it's very much a social activity as well, to be by the beach with your
Yeah.
friends and to fit into Australian culture, or to feel like a sense of belonging, I should say, rather than fitting in, but a sense of belonging and enjoying Australian beaches. And again, in social circles, there may be uh, some who are more risk taking than others, and or there might be peer pressure or challenges around the water, and that provokes people to go into the water
Mm-hmm.
without considering their actual ability.
Mm. Yeah. And then if they don't, if they have a bad experience when they don't know about all these water safety techniques, then they'll probably develop like a fear, I guess. Yeah.
Correct. And
Yeah.
at the moment, we're seeing it's been common that uh, a massive proportion of the drownings are actually male.
Mm.
Uh, and that is a challenge in itself because, again, you've got, young guys, teenagers, those in their 20s, 30s, who are maybe, taking part in water activities, maybe boating, rock fishing, or even just exploring near the water, and they're getting into trouble, unfortunately. The other factor, is alcohol,
Okay.
which, inhibits your ability to make good decisions around the water.
Yeah.
So, so that it is a complex challenge.
Yeah.
And I think we definitely need to talk about it more, and also acknowledge that, um, maybe Australians, it's something that we need to increase the collective or national capability of Australians in and around the water. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm talking about uh, swimming skills where they are participating in swimming and ocean activities on a regular basis so that those skills are not, um, you know, being lost in their teenage years, or, they're actually improving their skills upon the foundations rather than having this massive gap and then getting a shock when they go snorkeling.
Mm. Yeah. Why do you think it's more common with males though? Like, is there a reason for that?
Uh, so the research by Royal Life Saving has shown that, men are more likely to engage in risks around water,
Mm-hmm.
jumping off cliffs, drinking
Yeah.
alcohol, challenging their friends, and it usually, with good intentions,
Yeah.
but, that can have unfortunate consequences.
Mm-hmm.
The other factor is that if someone is in trouble in the water, maybe a child or a friend or relative,
Mm-hmm.
um, a male may enter the water to rescue that person and
Mm-hmm.
then find themselves getting into trouble.
Oh,
So it's that rescuer entering the water,
yeah.
to save someone else,
Mm-hmm.
and then themselves, unfortunately, not making it back to shore.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah, because I think sometimes men might be a bit more overconfident in their abilities, and they might jump in to save someone and then need help themselves, which can be quite tricky.
Definitely. And I do acknowledge that, um, it can be there can be a bit of embarrassment or shame, or
Mm-hmm.
a hesitation amongst men, but also women, to actually communicate that they're not a strong swimmer,
Mm-hmm.
because it's almost expected, especially if you've grown up in Australia.
Yeah, exactly.
Um, Even those who might have grown up in regional areas,
Mm-hmm.
Many of them have shared with me that they learned to swim in a river or
Mm-hmm.
in a lake or in the dam. um,
Yeah.
so that, quite creative ways of learning to swim.
Yeah.
But that's because there were no other options.
Mm-hmm.
So I think amongst, social groups, amongst our close friends, our uni friends, or even colleagues who you get to know, we need to start initiating these conversations so
Mm-hmm.
that it becomes a regular topic of discussion rather
Mm-hmm.
than something that is a bit taboo. Like
Yeah.
people are scared to talk about it and hide
Mm-hmm.
it out of shame or embarrassment.
Yeah, for sure. I guess in that way, it seems like it's very similar to mental health issues as well. People don't necessarily want to talk about it. But I think this is something important, especially in Australia, that we should be discussing more. Um, but yeah, can you tell me like what aquaphobia is and what it actually looks like? Because I've always really enjoyed the water, so I can't really imagine why people would be afraid of it. But yeah, can you tell me like why people are like, what are the common reasons? Um, what are the common feelings that people get when they have an aquaphobia?
Yeah, sure. So aquaphobia is a fear of water, but it could be a fear of deep water
Mm-hmm.
and the sensation of like not having your feet on the ground.
Mm-hmm.
It could also be um like a sensation or like that feeling of being tossed by the waves, or if someone has had a traumatic experience in the water, maybe they would, got caught up in the whitewash or, in a wave, and that feeling of being out of control
Mm-hmm.
in your body. It could also look like, uh, the smell of chlorine could also cause, discomfort or that anxiety in your body, or in, that, yeah, just feeling anxious, fearful, uncomfortable. Um, your nervous system isn't calm, so you might
Mm-hmm.
feel like you want to escape it or run away from it.
Yeah.
And some people will just avoid the water altogether.
Mm.
For example, they may never plan holidays around the water,
Oh,
like to Fiji or
yeah.
any other Pacific island. They may just avoid it altogether.
Mm-hmm.
It could also look like a fear of putting your face in the water, and that sensation of having water around your nose and mouth,
Mm-hmm.
or even in your ears. Some people don't even like being under a shower.
What? That sounds
Yeah.
very crazy.
Yeah. So it
Yeah.
sounds, quite extreme, but
Yeah.
that is on a scale
Yeah.
of,
Yeah.
aquaphobia would be on the more extreme side,
Mm-hmm.
where it impacts your day-to-day life
Mm-hmm.
and your actions or behaviors.
Mm. Yeah.
Aquaphobia could also look like um, maybe being overprotective of your children around the water
Mm.
because of your own fear
Yeah.
and anxiety. So
Yeah.
it's something that impacts your daily life and
Mm-hmm.
impacts your actions or behavior.
Yeah. And like if a parent has a fear of water, could that also be passed down to their children potentially?
Yes. I think it's obviously it would depend on the child and the amount of exposure they got to the water in a safe environment.
Mm-hmm.
But I definitely have had clients or have been in conversations with people where they've shared that their mum or grandma or a member of their family were fearful. Usually the parent was
Mm-hmm.
fearful of the water, and usually due to a bad incident. And that also the child picked up on those feelings, or that anxiety, and that instilled in them a fear as well, or they just didn't like the water.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, definitely children are very uh they're very observant
Yeah.
and they pick up on our expressions and responses. So if someone, even if a child, kind of got splashed in the face or, maybe accidentally went under a little bit, if a parent, suddenly panics and has like a really kind of expressive, reaction of shock or, are you okay? Like, oh my gosh, it could make it worse than it actually is. So
Yes.
I think it's just being aware of your own experiences and how has that affected you in your own, really in your own relationship with the water and ensuring that you can take steps to either overcome it or just be aware of how that might affect uh, others, like children.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not intentional, but I think it's just, when we go through something that's been traumatic,
Mm-hmm.
you don't want someone else to go through it. So it comes out of love. That's why adults, um, it's even more important that adults take the opportunity to learn to swim and overcome their fears
Mm.
now, no matter how old they are.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that totally makes sense. Because yeah, if they're afraid, like, they'll be overprotective of their children, and then the children will be like, "Oh, this is something I need to be afraid of as well," and the cycle will just keep continuing.
Absolutely.
So
Yeah.
no, that totally makes sense. Um, but yeah, like I always find water to be quite soothing, and relaxing. But like if someone has aquaphobia, how do you think it will impact their mental health? And are there any negative impacts that it might have?
Yeah, I think it would it would impact mental health. Um I mean for some adults, if some might be okay just not going near the water. So
Mm-hmm.
they will just create a life where they just never go swimming. They never are at the beach. And some might be okay with that. So in
Yeah.
that case, the impact might be minimal. But if
Mm-hmm.
someone, and more often than not, uh, adults want to be engaging in water activities.
Mm-hmm.
People are drawn to the water for many reasons, and it is social. So it's normal, it's natural to actually want to engage in those activities.
Yeah.
And for someone who has that desire, for whatever reason, has a fear of the water and is unable to swim,
Mm-hmm.
um, it's that fear that it's that feeling of being left out
Mm.
or knowing that there's something amazing that others are experiencing
Yeah.
and you can't be involved, you can't be included.
Mm.
Um, because of that fear, knowing that you might have even tried to learn in the past, like
Mm-hmm.
the woman who I coached in my pilot program, she had actually tried to learn to swim
Mm.
through classes at a university, and after 10 lessons, she wasn't able to swim.
Oh.
Um, so even the actions of enrolling in lessons can produce um, maybe disappointing or results,
Yeah.
or expectations are not managed, or it's simply harder and takes longer than expected. And so there is a level of patience and persistence that is needed to learn these skills as an adult. Um, to move through the water, to get comfortable with the breath. That takes time. So we
Yeah.
also have to acknowledge that um, it does take time. And if you have been learning for 2 weeks or 4 weeks and you're finding it challenging,
Mm-hmm.
it's not going to stay that way like forever. But
Yeah.
you have to be willing to keep going, even when there are challenges.
No, for
That is
sure.
absolutely key.
Yeah. No. And especially like if someone has had bad experiences in the past learning, taking swim lessons, and then this doesn't work out for them, yeah, they'd be more hesitant to actually try it again because they would feel more defeated. So yeah, that totally makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's also people want to make friends.
Mm.
And I think especially since COVID, people, more willing to be outside. They're looking for ways to engage socially
Mm-hmm.
and to try new things in a safe environment.
Yeah.
So if you can create an environment where people feel welcomed and they can learn at their own pace,
Hmm.
the fear, will reduce.
Can you tell me why you chose to focus more on adults who had the fear of water?
Definitely. The main reason I chose to focus on adults is because I haven't seen a lot of adult swim lessons or communities
Mm-hmm.
that focus on those with a fear of water. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm talking about adult beginners, people who are new to swimming, from all backgrounds. So um, back when I started the swim project, there weren't many.
Yeah.
And so that coupled with the drownings
Mm-hmm.
really prompted me to say, hey, like something needs to be done
Mm-hmm.
and it needs to be done well. If adults are attempting to learn to swim
Yeah.
at public pools and after 10 lessons, they're not seeing progress.
Hmm.
So there was a challenge with how they were being taught.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I believe from the conversations with people, from clients, from people within my networks. I recognized that there was a need, and I wanted to do it in a fun and just in a unique way. I didn't want to start a swim school or own a pool and
Yeah.
have a swim school like a traditional swim school model.
Yeah.
I actually wanted to create something that was more fluid that could um I guess that could be created by community
Mm-hmm.
and that could evolve. But the core focus was to spread the joy of swimming to all adults.
Yeah.
um and the way to draw adults in is to through community.
Mm-hmm.
That's one of the core elements. So if there's a big need for quality adult swim teachers and coaches
Mm-hmm.
for those with a fear of the water,
Yeah.
and also for those that where culturally diverse adults felt welcomed and included and accepted,
Mm-hmm.
then I believe that it was something I could do.
Mm-hmm.
And I started it while I was still working in my former job. So I was still working in corporate banking.
Yeah.
Um, and I started my business uh, at the same time. So
Okay.
I kind of threw myself in there
Yeah.
and explored, I went to a lot of startup events and I explored different avenues. I received a lot of wisdom from other startup
Mm-hmm.
founders. And I also got a part-time job on Saturdays teaching kids.
Okay.
So I could learn, I could get my swimming experience, teaching experience up.
Mm-hmm.
And it was really awesome because with adults, you can build those relationships. It's a bit different to building relationships with children.
Yeah.
With adults, you have with the swim project, it's about a two-way partnership.
Mm-hmm.
So for someone who wants to learn to swim, they've had a fear of the water, or they've had a bad experience or zero experience. Um, I'm coming alongside that adult and saying, I will help support you to reach your goal, whatever that
Mm-hmm.
looks like. It could be they want to do a triathlon,
Yeah.
or it could just be they want to, incorporate swimming into their regular fitness routine.
Mm-hmm.
And adults, it's fun because adults have all different types of goals, and they also learn differently to children, and it takes time. So there's also challenges, but I love that I can have these relationships with my clients
Mm-hmm.
and build community. And it's rewarding because I've witnessed adults get in the water with me in their first lesson, and they're terrified. Like some show up to the first class,
Yeah.
and they've told me later in their mind, even when they're on their way, they've resolved in their mind that they're not going to get in the water in their first class.
Yeah.
And they show up, and I, have a little chat, and we sit on the side of the pool just with our
Mm-hmm.
feet, dangling in the water.
Yeah.
And when they feel calm, I was actually able to get them in the water,
Mm-hmm.
and they surprised themselves. And it was only later that this one client told me, she didn't think that she would get in the water. So,
Yeah.
I think adults, we need to create environments where adults feel safe
Yeah.
and where they feel um, they're taught in a way that is at their own pace,
Mm-hmm.
and the teacher or coach can meet them where they're at
Yeah.
rather than prescribing a swim lesson, which, may have been a template that from a children's class,
Mm-hmm.
um, and not really engaging with that person personally, and or even just asking questions
Mm-hmm.
to get to know them before they get in the water,
Yeah.
so that that teacher is well equipped to cater to that client and their needs,
Yeah.
because every adult is different,
Mm-hmm.
and you can't just have 6 adults of who are beginners, but in reality some have never swum before, and
Mm-hmm.
others might be able to move through the water and doggy paddle
Yeah.
to head up
Exactly.
water. It's different.
Each approach needs to be different. Yeah.
Yeah. So you end up getting the teacher catering the lesson to the more advanced student,
Mm-hmm.
which does nothing for the one who has a fear of the water.
Yeah.
They end up staying in the shallow end,
Mm-hmm.
watching and probably feeling a little
Left out.
maybe left out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess that's what I want to know. Like, I have a few questions, but like, how do you actually approach it? Like, you mentioned they thought they might not even step into the water. Like, how do you actually get them to go in the water and like learn to swim when they're so afraid of that? Like, how do you go about that?
So I try and put myself in their shoes, and it might sound challenging because like I've grown up around the water.
Yeah.
So, how can I relate to someone who has this fear?
Mm-hmm.
But in reality, even though I've had lots of swimming experience, and I don't have that agonizing fear.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I have been in situations where I've had close calls in the water. And it's
Okay.
humbled me,
Yeah.
right? Because the water humbles you.
Yeah, for sure.
And when you recognize that, you actually respect the water,
Yeah, you need to learn to
and
respect it.
you become wiser as well.
Yeah.
So I had a situation where I was surfing, and I was kind of caught in a bit of a rut. I wasn't, super far from the shore, but I couldn't get back.
Hmm.
I was struggling. I was getting pounded by the waves, and I knew I was caught in a rip. I recognized the situation, and I thought, okay, this isn't good. And I ended up putting my hand up and getting rescued by a lifeguard. Um, but And that's even though I'm a swimmer. So,
Yeah.
but I recognized that I needed help in that situation. I didn't
Mm.
try and, tie myself out and then go, no, I can do it. And then they have to come get me anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So, in that respect, I've had scary situations in the water.
Yeah.
But the other way I try and put myself in their shoes is actually, um, I know what it feels like to avoid something. And
Mm.
I had a fear of public speaking for a
Oh.
long period of my life. Yeah, you wouldn't know it now. I've had such amazing opportunities to share about the swim project,
Yeah.
but I also um, I guess encourage myself to overcome that fear,
Yeah.
and so that is what um, I can relate to,
Mm.
and it's about building relationship with the
Mm.
with the person you're teaching. So
Yeah.
the person who my client who came to the pool and, wasn't sure if she was going to get in the water, we just chatted for a little while. It
Mm.
wasn't about, I wasn't in the water already
Mm.
and just, waving her in and expecting her to get in
Yeah.
without checking where
Mm.
she was at. Um, and also, I had already spoken to her on the phone
Yeah.
in a fair bit of depth. So I already knew what her level of discomfort was.
Mm.
Um, but yeah, at the pool, I was able to meet her
Mm.
at the entry and then, kind of just make her feel comfortable, show her the environment that she was learning in,
Mm.
even introduce her to some of the pool staff so she could actually recognize, who it is, um, who are the people that she might see on a weekly basis
Yeah.
each time she comes to the pool.
Mm-hmm.
So, inviting her to um, look around the environment and pointing out safety signs.
Yeah.
And
No.
all of that is done even before you get into the water.
Mm.
So, yeah, just helping her to recognize the environment. It's a new environment.
Yeah.
It can be challenging because of these kids' classes, it's quite noisy. And then
Mm.
teachers, instructing. So that's noisy. There might be music. There might be quite bright lights,
Mm-hmm.
smell of chlorine. So it's not automatically a Zen environment, to be
Yeah.
honest. And there might be parents, sitting on the side, on the benches watching,
Yeah.
adults, I also recognize that to learn to swim and to come to the pool, you're in your bathers.
Mm-hmm.
So even that in itself can cause anxiety,
Mm.
in that space. So I think we need to ask ourselves, how can we create environments at the pool where we can mitigate some of these, um, factors,
Issues. Yeah.
and help people to feel calm.
Mm.
So once I've chatted with them, I then, if they're, ready to get into the water, which I invite everyone to get in the water in the first class, we'll even just sit on the side.
Mm.
And again, it's just about bringing down the heart rate,
Yeah.
um, just recognizing, what fears are coming up or what some emotion they might be feeling
Mm-hmm.
and having a chat through them so
Yeah.
that, it's all out in the open.
Mm.
And, obviously some might be more comfortable to share than others, but
Yeah.
if you show that you care and you're willing to just listen and not
Mm-hmm.
necessarily fix everything in one moment, you're
Mm.
just there to listen
Yeah.
and they will, my clients have all gotten in the pool in the first lesson. So
That's great.
I haven't met anyone yet, but I am fairly confident. I'm confident that based on that, I can get anyone in the water in the first class.
Yeah. No, that's great.
Because they
Yeah.
also want to be there. That's the other point. They also want to be there.
Yeah.
You might get children, where the parents have brought them along and, they don't want to get in the water, but
Mm.
with adults. they've made a choice to be there.
Mm.
So automatically, they've got skin in the game, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
No, I think that's a really good point. Like, yeah, you're taking the time to actually connect with the person, rather than, just telling them, okay, like, class, we're going into the water, you're introducing them to the staff, you're actually building a connection before you ask them to do something. So you're building trust with them, which I guess is very important. And yeah, like if an adult has signed up for your classes, like you already know that they want to learn, but they have some reasons that they can't. So they are actually like, yeah, they're wanting to learn as well.
Yeah.
No, that totally makes sense.
And I think just like once they're in the water,
Hmm.
it's about having fun.
Hmm.
So, again, some of my clients have shared they've gone to other classes
Hmm.
and um, they've found it quite boring. Like the class, the structure of the class, or
Yeah.
some teachers say to their adults, "What do you want to learn today?"
Hmm.
And that's to someone who's never learned to swim before.
Hmm.
So we have to
It does make sense.
recognize that the teacher or the coach, um, they are driving the class,
Hmm.
but you can't turn up to a class and go, "What do you want to learn today?" Because you're the one who's the teacher.
Yeah.
Or how can you invite that adult into the lesson
Hmm.
and get them moving through the water without putting pressure on them to
Yeah.
perform a certain skill immediately?
Hmm.
You have to ease them into it.
Yeah. And the other question I want to ask is also like, how do you go about building a community? Because that's what you mentioned earlier, and that's one of your strong focus as well. How do you go about doing that?
Yeah, so the community is like one of my favorite parts of running the swim project.
Yeah.
And again, it's about building relationships and doing it in an authentic way and in a way that um like is it draws people in.
Hmm.
It doesn't keep people out. It draws people in, and it's also educational. So
Hmm.
there's always a purpose to it. It's not just like coming together and drinking coffee. It's actually there's a purpose to each time that we gather whether it's a small group or one-on-one or a bigger community training. So some examples of where we've gathered in community, is obviously in group classes.
Hmm.
So that's one way where each participant can watch others learn as well,
Hmm.
and gather the feedback, and then even copy someone else. It gives them courage to give something a go. Outside the pool, I'm very passionate about bringing the community together outside of the water.
Hmm.
And the reason for that is because, again, at the pool, it can be a noisy environment. And when you're in the water, you're encouraging um, your clients to practice as much as possible so you can give them feedback.
Hmm.
Out of the water, you can actually engage in conversations about water safety, about stories around the water, um, celebrating wins. So
Hmm.
you're actually bringing community together um, through swimming,
Hmm.
but you're not in the water.
Yeah.
So you're creating that safe environment from the beginning.
Hmm.
There's no pressure to be in the water in this particular type of community training. It encourages even a bit more vulnerability um, than if you're in the class. There's less talking,
Yeah.
more doing. But when you're out of the water, it offers an opportunity for those participants to then go, oh yeah, I'm struggling with this at the moment, maybe side breathing, like
Hmm.
learning side breathing. And then you'll get an experienced swimmer, someone who I've coached, for a bit longer. And that person might say, oh, like I also found that challenging. but
Mm.
you just need to keep going and it
Mm.
will click, like a
Yeah.
bit more practice. So you automatically, those connections are forming through through the swim journey.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it happens organically as well. Like you
Yeah.
can't force it. Um, I feel so blessed to lead this community and facilitate these beautiful events and conversations.
Yeah.
More recently, we had a public event. So we celebrated the Swim Project's 6th birthday,
Hey,
um,
congrats.
end of March. And I hosted a public celebration lunch
Mm.
to celebrate 6 years of adults learning to swim with the Swim Project.
Yeah.
And it was so beautiful because we had some of my former clients come along, and we had also my current clients and community. And then there were people who either had followed the Swim Project online on
Mm-hmm.
social media, who came along, and that was the first time I'd met them,
Mm.
or they'd had heard me on the ABC radio or read the article on aquaphobia recently and come along. They'd contacted me, we'd had a chat, and they'd come along to that event.
Mm-hmm.
So then you're bringing together like 30 to 40 adults from all these different experiences, connections with the water. Some of whom had fear of the water and never learned to swim. And you're able to cultivate that feeling of community
Mm-hmm.
and celebrating the joy of swimming, and you're not in the water.
Yeah. No,
So
that's
this is a lunch. It's a hosted lunch at a restaurant. That I kind of was very intentional about creating a certain environment.
mm-hmm.
I even had some of my paintings hanging out. Many of them, are paintings of the water,
Yeah.
to create that sense of joy
Yeah.
and you know community. We had like um, yeah, we had a cake. So you're celebrating over food, which obviously, automatically brings people around the table.
Yeah.
And you're creating these, while there's a facilitated discussion or, um, I was speaking for a few minutes, and some of my clients were able to share their experiences.
Mm-hmm.
But then within the event, there's all these micro conversations that are happening
Yeah.
over those couple of hours and connections that are forming.
Mm.
So that is what it means to build community through swimming. And
Yeah.
I'm very passionate about doing it in a different way, really creating beautiful experiences for people
Mm-hmm.
so that they can develop a positive relationship with the water.
No.
And when these experiences occur and they're open to it, and they can receive um, each of these positive experiences, uh, demonstrating to them that swimming can be fun, that you can be safe,
Mm-hmm.
that you can make friends, even as a adult in their 40s or whatever age. It doesn't matter,
Yeah.
but it's um, immersive. It is expansive. It is challenging because
Yeah.
also about drowning prevention and water safety. So there's a serious element to it, and maybe a bit sobering at times.
Yeah.
But the joy of swimming is available when people are open to it.
Mm-hmm.
And it takes courage. It definitely takes courage, even to turn up to a lunch where you don't know anyone.
Yeah.
So, and as adults, we all know what it feels like to walk into a room where you don't know anyone,
Mm-hmm.
and whether someone comes up to acknowledge you or speak to you or not. I think we can all relate to that.
Yeah.
So with the swim project, I would introduce people to each other who I knew had common interests, or
Mm,
maybe they both had children, or you know they lived in a certain area. So there was automatically a point of conversation that
mm.
can that get that connection started.
No, that sounds amazing. And yeah, like obviously the swimming class are one aspect of it, but also taking it outside the classes and organizing events for people that where people can connect, which is, I guess, a great way to build a community. Um, yeah, that's great. I guess the next question I want to ask is, what would you say are the most common challenges that your clients usually face when they come to you? And then how do you help them overcome them?
Yeah, the biggest challenges are, I guess, aside from the fact that most of them have a fear,
Mm-hmm.
whether it's a fear of putting their face in the water, or it could be a fear of the deeper water and not
Mm-hmm.
having their feet on the ground. Um, I mean, that is a challenge, but it's the reason why I started the swim project. So,
Mm-hmm.
um, I think a bigger challenge is um, really communicating and being honest with how long it takes to reach a certain level of swimming skills.
Mm-hmm.
So, for example, um, I run a foundations program, which is
Okay.
months. And even recently, someone asked me, can I go from zero to pro? Well, pro, she wasn't, but she was really saying she had big expectations, right?
Mm-hmm.
Zero to pro in 3 months.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the foundations program, which I'd already, shared and clearly communicated.
Yeah.
I actually had to say to her, no, like I think some people get disappointed when they've attended traditional swimming classes
Mm-hmm.
because they don't realize the time it takes to become a swimmer. And when I say become a swimmer, I mean to constantly swim, several 100 meters
Mm-hmm.
of freestyle, because that's usually the stroke they want to learn,
Yeah.
uh, without stopping
Yeah.
and without gasping for breath. So the reason it takes longer than adults expected is, one, I think we do put a lot of emphasis on short-term quick fixes.
Mm-hmm.
Just in general. I'm not just talking about swimming, but I'm talking about in general.
Yeah.
We're in this culture where everything needs to be quick, everything needs to be instant. We need solutions that are fast.
Yeah.
And while we want to meet people's needs, we also have to communicate that everyone learns differently, and everyone, as adults, people respond to the water differently,
Mm-hmm.
depending on their background, level of base fitness when they start, their fears,
Mm-hmm.
anxiety, there's multiple factors, right?
Yeah, for sure.
So you can't prescribe a fixed time frame for
Mm-hmm.
someone to become a pro, because swimming is a lifelong skill, and it um if someone is starting with a fear of water, the most important factor to overcome is that fear.
Mm-hmm.
But that is not necessarily done by swimming 50 laps. Like, to overcome that fear is going to be consistent exposure to the water, practice, starting with basics, even just blowing bubbles, like
Mm-hmm.
really basic skills that for someone who has never learnt to swim before would actually find a bit overwhelming,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
because putting your face in the water and moving laterally through the water and having balance, building core strength
Mm-hmm.
is not something that comes instantly.
Yeah. No, for
And
sure.
on top of that, you do need to build I think the most challenging at the beginning is balance and a bit of core strength to engage the right muscles to learn to swim with good
Yeah.
technique. And if you don't have the foundations, then the rest of your swimming journey or development will fall short
Mm.
if you don't focus on building those strong foundations.
Yeah.
It's like building a house.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you
Focus on
don't
the
have
basics first.
firm foundations, it
Mm.
won't hold up in challenging situations. If you only have, kind of rocky foundations, or, you can kind of get to the end of a lap, but you're gasping and you're out of breath and your technique is all over the place, and, you don't feel calm, you can't control your bubble, your breath, you're going to get tired. And
Yeah.
if you put that, if you take that and then come to a open water environment, someone who might go kayaking, or not kayaking because you're on
Boat.
a boat, but if you go, say, snorkeling, um, even if you have a snorkel, well, let's just say swimming in open water and you get caught in a rig, you're not going to have the resilience or the wisdom to make good decisions in a instant, because you haven't been able to develop that fitness, that strength, the being calm in that environment. You haven't developed those foundations, and they won't translate to the open water.
Yeah. That
So
makes sense.
you have to allow the process, like go through that journey
Yeah.
of building those skills.
Mm-hmm.
And they need to be like done in a certain order. Like you're building it on top of one another, like
Mm-hmm.
layering bricks, and checking that regularly that you've got firm foundations.
Mm-hmm.
If you're, like, I want to swim, I want to do a triathlon and it's a month away, and you haven't prepared, you haven't, like, you can't, maybe you'll have a fear of the open water.
Mm-hmm.
Like, your body is not going to stay calm when you get in that water,
Yeah.
because most of the triathlons are in the morning
Yeah.
and it's freezing water. So automatically you get in the water and you're gasping because of the cold.
Yeah.
And then you're automatically in the state of panic
Panic.
and
Yeah.
anxiety the rest of the swim.
Yeah.
Where those foundations are non-negotiable.
Mm-hmm.
And we need to be, I think, as a swimming industry, we actually need to be more communicating this more clearly and encouraging adults, especially, to commit to swimming for at least a year.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
And I'm saying that, like, maybe they're not in coaching for a year, but I'm saying they
Just
need to
committing.
build those foundations so that allows their body to gain that muscle memory,
Mm-hmm.
which again, if you're in the gym, it takes time to build.
Mm-hmm.
So you're building that muscle memory over time and through consistent practice
Yeah.
and communication with your teacher or coach, and check-ins, with your progress and any challenges that you're facing.
Yeah.
So I think that, I know that's a long answer, but I think
Yeah.
what is the biggest and probably sometimes frustrating challenge that we face as educators, because it's risky. Like
Mm.
swimming is more risky than, running. Like if you're going to pick up running or cycling, you can stop when you're tired. But
Mm.
with swimming, it's a different scenario. It
Yeah.
requires a different level of self-awareness and skill to stay safe.
Mm.
And that's the emphasis we need to share,
Yeah.
without reservation.
No, that's great. If you had to like maybe, let's say someone is afraid of the water, what are like the basic foundation skills they would need to develop to feel more comfortable? Like, can you order them like maybe 1 to 5, which are the most important ones that they need to build?
The most important foundational skills.
Yeah.
So breath work,
Okay.
um, that would be the foundation. I think that doesn't get enough focus. And kicking and
Yep.
just being able to move laterally through the water.
Yeah.
Core strength is something that develops over time, so I might leave that out, but that's in the background. And I would definitely say rotational skills. So being able to go from your front to back position to floating on your back. So you might move through the water, kicking, and then being able to rotate independently onto your back and stay in a floating position on your back. And I often will then teach someone survival backstroke, and that will get them from, once they develop survival backstroke, they will actually go from one end of the lap to another, to the end, without stopping. So once they know they can float and they can move through the water calmly and without getting water in their mouth on their back, that actually gives them a lot of confidence.
Yeah. Yes, I can imagine that. Yeah.
And it's a life-saving skill. So if you're in the water and you had an accident and you needed to breathe, then you can turn on your back, any barriers, and you can call for help.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's very important. Yeah. And then do you have, I'm sure you have lots, but can you share with us any like major transformational stories with your clients that really stuck with you?
Yes. There's so many.
Hard to pick one.
Like, I love all my clients. I think, like, so going back to when I first started the swim project, one of my clients, she has 2 young boys, and so she had a fear of, she didn't want to pass that fear on to her children, and we were speaking about that before. So she was in my pilot program, and her husband would drop her off to the swimming pool every week, with the kids in the back, and then pick her up every week. And she had that hour, and she said that when she came to her swimming lesson, that was her me time. And, that was a time to be in the water and do something that developed her confidence. She was gaining a life skill. And at the same time, because she learned to swim, she was then able to spend more time with her kids around the water. And I think that's a common desire for parents who may struggle to be around the water, and they witness their kids learning to swim because they resolve to say, okay, I'm going to make sure my kids go get lessons because I never got lessons. And the kids will then get to an age where they're loving the water, and they're starting to move through the water and swim quite well. And they'll say to their parents, hey, mum or dad, like, come in the water with me. Like, they want them to be included. They want to have those moments of connection in the water, that family time in the water together. And the parent is scared. So some of the most beautiful stories, from my clients is actually when they realize, oh, I'm not scared of the water anymore, and I can enjoy time with my child in the water and have fun, and they can spend more time, quality time, engaging in this activity. And that can then lead to other things like, the other thing is that if you choose courage to overcome a fear in one area of your life, like swimming, I think it's a mark of one, you can overcome the fear of water. It unlocks courage in other areas of life. And so that's why the swim project, our kind of, I guess, tagline is choose courage, because it's
It's a
not
great
just
tagline.
about choosing courage in the water.
Yeah.
It's about living a courageous life. It's about saying, okay, like if I can overcome a fear of water,
Mm-hmm.
then what else can I do? What else can I overcome? What
Exactly.
new experience can I receive? And I'm telling you, like, and I've experienced it myself, like, I committed to overcoming a fear of public speaking, and I
Mm.
engaged a coach and I practiced and I experienced a lot of discomfort on the
Mm-hmm.
journey, but I was determined and I had support. So, and it wasn't just a tick box course, it
Mm.
was ongoing coaching and practice
Mm.
until it started to feel a bit easier.
Yeah.
Of course, you still experience the nerves, and in the water, you still need to be aware of your limitations or
Mm-hmm.
you still need to know your capability.
Yeah.
But if you can overcome a fear in the water, and especially one that you've had for a long time,
Mm-hmm.
then the opportunities are endless. And how much more of a fulfilling life can you have when it involves swimming and, other amazing water activities,
Yeah, for sure.
or ocean activities?
No, I
Yeah.
think the water can be very rewarding. But yeah, you just need to get over the fear, I guess. And you can do that through the swim project. Um, I think you already mentioned this a little bit, but what's your overall goal with the swim project? Like, where do you see this going in the next 5 years or so?
I mean, the ultimate goal is to spread the joy of swimming to all adults.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, and that can look like a variety of ways. It could be, social media is a tool, but
Mm-hmm.
I'm not, and I enjoy sharing, some of my clients' experiences and testimonies. Um, but I feel that you can share educational lessons and, guidance, like water safety guidance,
Mm-hmm.
um, through social media, but in a fun and, fresh way,
Yeah.
where we can relate with the audience. They actually listen if they
Yeah.
listen. But it's actually about, spreading that, the water safety messages.
Mm-hmm.
Um, we want to see the drownings reduce, like
Mm-hmm.
that. It's about saving lives.
Mm-hmm.
But obviously that is a collective effort
Yeah.
across the board. So, the swim project's just playing a small part in that.
Mm-hmm.
But I would love to see the community grow, um, even more. And that will be through, continuing to, run the foundations program,
Mm-hmm.
but also encourage adults to expand their vision of what swimming can look like in their life.
Mm.
So not just being satisfied with basic, somewhat shallow skills, um, and encouraging them to go deep in foundations
Mm-hmm.
and then the breadth of skills.
Yeah.
So deep in, the foundations program, taking their time to overcome the fear, practice, and getting those practices in place. Like it becomes a habit, right?
Mm-hmm.
As much as going to the gym or making your breakfast.
Yeah. No.
And then offering opportunities where they can get that breadth of skills, which I've been fortunate to have my entire life, because it's the breadth of experiences in and around the water, which actually build resilience.
Mm.
You can learn so much in the pool, and you can develop that fitness. You can, develop those foundations. You can overcome the fear in the pool, but the resilience part and the wisdom of a lifelong swimmer is developed through that breadth of experience.
Yeah.
And that means to keep swimming, once you start swimming, you need to keep swimming.
Yeah.
Like, don't stop. Keep swimming. Even if it's once a week or if you have a little break, keep going. Like, don't just kind of see it as a tick box and then never get in the water again.
Yeah.
Because that's where the risk of regression, skill regression can occur. And then people get disappointed when they can't
Go
swim
back in
as
the
far
water
as they
again.
can, or they've lost their fitness, or they panic. And the breath, they get anxious again. So if they can develop that breadth and that consistent habit of being in the water, reducing their fear and expanding their experiences, but doing it progressively in a way that each experience is building their relationship with the water in a positive way. So I'm not saying, once you can learn to swim, don't just if you can if you've done 25 meters for 50 meters, for example, you've just done 2 laps of the pool nonstop, whether that's survival backstroke or freestyle or another stroke. Open water experience is stand-up paddleboarding. And okay, you're not in the water, but you're on the water and it's open water. You have the option of wearing a life jacket, but the minimum requirement is to be able to swim 50 meters nonstop. And because you've got a board, you can actually enjoy the open water environment without the stress or anxiety of being in deep water and feeling like you have to tread water, and then going, oh, my swimming is not as good as I think.
Yeah.
So it's progressively learning that, okay, what experience, I can participate in with the skills that I have. I think a lot of adults will automatically get attracted to something like scuba diving or snorkeling, both of which are often in deep water.
Yeah.
And so, and the requirement, the minimum swimming requirement is significantly higher, even if you don't necessarily, they all have to sign a waiver and acknowledgement that you can swim confidently and tread water, regardless of whether you have a snorkel or not. So, or get given a noodle or a life jacket. So I think we really need to question, do I actually have the swimming skills and capability and life-saving skills to participate in a certain open water activity? And if not, try and recognize the steps to bridge that gap, that skill gap, and do it with help. Get coaching, get
Don't do it by
support.
yourself.
Yeah. Because then how much more joyful will that experience be if you've worked on those skills and then achieved that goal of going cling or scuba diving?
Yeah. I guess building it up slowly rather than just going straight for scuba diving, because if you don't do it, if you're not able to do the scuba diving, then you'll feel panicked again and it will reset the whole cycle.
Yeah. And it messes us up because we, it's, again, there are risks involved in open water.
Yeah.
And we need to have better judgment and make good decisions for ourselves, but also for, others who are with us. I'll give you one. Can I give you one more example?
Yeah, sure. Go for it.
So, I've done a couple of triathlons in the past, small mini ones, like a fun try. If people feel underprepared for an open water triathlon event, there are lifesavers in kayaks, or, there are points where you can just hold on to their kayak.
Mm-hmm.
And people who might doggy paddle or do backstroke the entire way. And I think you are allowed to do backstroke, but the thing is you can't see where you're going if you do backstroke in an open water event. And so the preparation for a triathlon, which it's become a very popular event for any adult. Like, so many people are doing triathlons now. And it's great because people are, they're valuing fitness and they're wanting to participate, which is great. But even a beginner triathlon in an open water environment requires a minimum capability, swimming capability,
Yeah.
to finish that leg. And if you are thinking, I'll just hang on to the life, onto the kayak, or I'll just wing it. I'll just wing it. That's the common thing. I'll just wing it. I'm strong in the other two legs. I just have to wing the swim and, just survive it, right?
Yeah.
But if that is your thought process, you haven't given very much room. Like, I'm talking about, again, this resilience, right? You haven't given yourself enough stretch for anything else that might come your way in the race. So you might get kicked in the face. You might, yeah, this is true. You might not swim straight, and then you end up swimming further. You have to go further because you haven't swum straight. That's happened to me. I didn't swim straight in an open water event. And it was 4.6K. But there were no buoys or anything to guide us at that event. So you need, extra fitness level and capability for anything extra that happens on the day.
Yeah.
Through that, you can complete the swim leg to the best of your ability and as safely as possible.
Yeah. Yeah. No,
But
it's
that
the
is a
same thing.
non-negotiable again. But unfortunately, I'm not trying to take away the fun factor, but I think this is, again, really important to recognize that, again, we overestimate our ability and we underestimate the challenge or the environment that we put ourselves in an open water try. So if you're hanging onto the kayak because you've entered a sudden race, and in some cases that might be an Ironman, and this is the attitude of someone completing their first Ironman, or half Ironman, you're actually putting other people at risk, because if you are entering an event underprepared, and relying on the lifesavers, the, whatever buoys there are to hang on to have a breather, or you're going to, do backstroke the entire way, someone might think you're in trouble, and then you're taking their attention away from someone who might be having a medical event during the race, or, actually getting into trouble for some reason. So it's actually a responsibility to recognize our own capability in the water and to bridge that gap with as much preparation plus that extra.
Yeah, no, I think that's very important, because I think swimming in a pool is one thing, and then swimming in an open water, there's so many other challenges that you might not think about. So it's always better to, over-prepare than under-prepare, especially if you're doing open water. So definitely agree with that. Cool. I think we've been going for a while now, and I want to head to this closing section. So yeah, the question I want to ask is, let's say someone has a fear of water. What advice would you give them to help them overcome that fear, or what can they do to overcome that fear?
The first thing I would do, I would like to say to you, is it is possible to overcome that fear.
Hmm.
And any emotions that you feel or anxiety that you feel like is valid. And I want you to know that, I have met and coached many adults who have overcome the fear of water. So I just want to instill hope
Hmm.
that you can do it, and encourage you to look for a swim teacher or coach who specializes in um, adults with a fear of water or aquaphobia, and to give it your best shot. So when you sign up with the intention of, I'm going to commit to swimming and practice until I feel more comfortable in the water. And you
Hmm.
can take it in stages, but I just want to encourage you, once you start, keep going, because sometimes um, the fear, if you're able to get in the water and have fun and actually start to enjoy the water,
Hmm.
that will give you the motivation to continue.
Hmm.
If you feel like you are forced to learn to swim, or you'll get told you have to learn to swim, it it might just feel like a chore.
Hmm.
So,
Yeah.
I want to encourage someone, like, you have to want to be able to overcome that fear for
Hmm.
yourself. Like, do it for yourself. Um, and believe in yourself.
Hmm.
And the second thing I would say is find a community of adults who will get around you. Or actually, if there's no community, because that might not be available wherever you are, I don't know. But I would say, when you start learning to swim, tell one person at least that you're learning to swim and to overcome that fear,
Hmm.
because they will come alongside you and encourage you along the way. And when when you share that journey with someone, it's exciting. It actually, they're excited for you because it's so brave,
Hmm.
and they will be so happy to walk that journey alongside you,
Yeah.
or even swim with you, like maybe go to practice with you. Or if you need someone to keep an eye on you in the water when you're practicing, like if you're doing floats and things, you might want someone in the water to help you practice or just keep an eye on you. Yeah, so I would just say, tell at least one person, a close friend or family member, who can actually come alongside that journey and encourage you, especially when it feels hard.
Yeah. I think those are two really good points. Um, yeah, like first finding someone who will be able to support you, like a coach. Because yeah, if you have done it before and you can't do it yourself, it might be hard to get the motivation to do it yourself. But then also finding the community or someone who can keep you accountable when you are on that journey. So I think yeah, those are really good points. The next question I want to ask is, we or I today really love to read books. So do you have any recommendations for books that we could read or our audience could read?
Yes, I do. I would recommend Why We Swim. Um,
Okay, what's that
that
about?
is a great book. And it explores, like, it just takes into account, like, the broader relationship with water
Hmm.
and the value of swimming.
Mm-hmm.
I actually give this book to my clients.
Okay.
Um, and actually, I haven't read it myself yet, because I started giving it away as a gift before I actually got a chance to read it. Even though really wanted to read it. I
Wait, so you haven't read the book yourself?
No, I haven't read the book.
Oh my God. How can you recommend it when you
You're
haven't
not
read it?
giving it away.
Oh God, that's
And
hilarious.
the other thing is, it's also quite hard to find in bookstores.
Hmm.
So when I go to the bookstore, I actually buy multiple copies so that I have that available to give to others.
That's funny.
But I will read it.
Okay.
Um, the other book that I recommend is The Island of Sea Woman.
The Island of Sea
But
Women.
The Island of Sea Woman is about a group of women in. Hang on, I don't want to get it wrong. Um, okay, I didn't quite actually prepare for this answer.
That's okay. We'll just put the recommendation in, and they can figure it out if they want to read it or not.
About this.
No, that's okay. That's totally all right. Yeah,
It's actually about a group of it's a fictional book,
yeah.
but it's actually based on a group of women in Korean island, and
Mm-hmm.
the women are responsible for going diving, like free diving,
Mm.
and like basically getting food for their family and village.
Oh wow.
They go fishing, like they actually collect fish and all sorts of seafood or to feed their family and village.
Mm.
And it is actually really fascinating. And there are now documentaries about it as well.
Yeah.
Um, and I think there's also, there've been many articles written about it as well.
Mm.
So
So is it
yeah,
a
that's
non-fiction or fiction, you say?
it's a fiction book,
Okay.
but it is based on like an actual group of women
Okay.
in Korea
Yeah.
who they basically taught themselves to free dive, which
Yeah.
is like holding your breath and then going under the water.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a skill that gets passed down from generation to generation
Mm.
through the woman's line.
Oh, that's super
Yeah, which is
interesting.
amazing.
Yeah.
And they have wetsuits, but they don't use, can't remember if they use snorkel. I don't think but the skill, like their skill, the ability to hold their breath
Yeah.
and then teach the girls, like their children, the daughters,
Mm.
the same skills. Um, and obviously it's very important because their ability to gather seafood, is for the family. So
Mm.
it's really fascinating.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, I've been free diving and it's quite challenging to hold your breath
Yeah,
for a
because you
long
gotta
period
hold
of
your breath for
time.
like crazy amounts of time.
Yeah. So it's such an incredible skill,
Yeah.
and the fact that they do it for, to feed their family.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's fascinating.
No, that sounds super interesting. And yeah, like I've definitely heard about like those crazy free divers who hold their breath for maybe like 10 minutes or upwards, and that just sounds insane to me. But yeah, it's
Yeah.
crazy.
I mean, I did do some free diving in the last couple of years. I
Yeah.
can't remember if I told you. Um, but I wanted to learn, and we were in the pool first to do
Mm-hmm.
some, just introduce us to the skills.
Mm-hmm.
And right off, like immediately, we just did a static breath hold, which
Yeah.
is when you just, you kind of relax your body and you just see how long you can hold your breath.
Yeah.
And I was able to hold my breath for over 2 minutes,
Oh wow.
um, just first go.
Yeah.
And I'd never timed myself before because when you're swimming, you're not holding your breath.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was actually quite amazing. And then when we went into the ocean, I did a few line dives, but unfortunately the equalization was quite challenging for me.
Yeah.
So I was only able to lower myself down on the line,
Mm-hmm.
going feet first. So
Yeah.
just, doing this,
Yeah.
rather than going, head first.
Mm-hmm.
But I was the goal was 10 meters.
Mm-hmm.
depth, and I was able to get down to 6.5 by the end
Okay.
of the course. So I was a bit short, but there was a few moments when I was going down and I was able to equalize. It actually worked. When I took the pressure off the skill learning, like I actually relaxed a bit more,
Mm.
and my instructor came down with me.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a few, like very briefly, but I felt the free fall.
Wait, what do you mean the free fall? Like just going straight down in the water?
Yeah. So free divers will talk about, and I don't know if you'll include this in the podcast, you can take it off of you. But free divers will actually, when they lower themselves down and down the line, they might be doing, some kind of like, it looks like a breaststroke.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
they'll be kind of doing some strokes as they're going down.
Yeah.
And then once they reach a certain depth, it's basically the momentum and it's all to do with like the pressure,
Mm-hmm.
between their body and the water.
Mm-hmm.
But they'll just keep going down, keep descending on the water
Yeah.
without kicking, without doing any strokes. And it's fully
Okay.
just relaxation and
Yeah.
focus. And you can feel that. What did it feel like? I mean, I wasn't upside down. I was just lowering myself down.
Yeah.
But
No,
I
no, no. I know
felt
what you
that
mean.
kind of just descent, and it felt like you're weightless.
Yeah. No.
And it was incredible. And so yeah, like this was for a line dive, but that like there's freedom in the water, and
Mm.
that's what keeps drawing me back is like there's a freedom that you experience when you can just float on your back
Yeah.
without fear.
Yeah.
And there's a freedom that you experience when you can, safely hold your breath or blow bubbles
Mm-hmm.
and just go under the water, maybe duck dive under the water, do a few strokes and just explore under the surface because there's peace there. There's
Yeah.
no social media, no constant news headlines.
Yeah.
There's no one telling you what to do. You're just under the water and you can let go.
Yeah.
And so, it's almost like swimming, I feel is, in a way, swimming is a little bit countercultural. And what I mean by that is I think we like to have control of everything.
Mm.
Like we like to have control of having our feet on the ground.
Yeah.
We like to control, what our days look like, our timetables, or we want to have, that choice. Like we
Yeah.
want to dictate what our lives look like because on the surface it might make us feel less anxious if we have control over our schedule, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or what we do. But swimming is something that you can't just um learn it with your mind. You have to learn it with your body,
Mm.
and even more than that, because it's almost like a deep spiritual connection with the water.
Mhm.
And so in order to receive that, you have to surrender.
Yeah.
You have
Yeah.
to relax. And so like the surrender part is letting go of control.
Mm-hmm.
And when you surrender to the water, you're telling your body that you're safe,
Mm.
and you're telling your body that you can relax. And then when you do that, the swimming happens. So
Yeah. That's beautiful.
if you try and control every little movement, or, you know, like obviously as a teacher and coach, like as a coach, I will give tips and it's technique is really important, right? To
Mm-hmm.
swim efficiently.
Yeah.
But as a beginner, if you over focus on the technique and don't actually work with that um, body water connection
Mhm.
and relationship, then no matter how much you try and swim, you'll never actually surrender or relax. There's always going to be this kind of force.
Mm.
There's going to be a force. It's not going to feel at ease. It's not going to flow. So yeah, I think that's really probably the last point is you actually need to learn to relax and
Yeah.
surrender, be willing to surrender.
Yeah.
And part of that surrender is trusting the process or trusting the journey of
Mhm.
the learning to swim. And by that, I mean, try not to put a strict timeline on when you expect to learn to swim.
Mhm.
And instead, swim because it makes you feel good. Swim because the water, you're learning a new skill. Swim because you can connect with others. Swim because you're building relationship with the water and you know the long-term value of that
Yeah.
and being safe in the water. And swim because you're valuing your health and longevity.
No, I totally agree with everything you said. Like, I just love the water. I love, sometimes as a child, I would just float in the water without having any worries in my mind. I would just go underneath the water, stay there as long as I can, just not think about anything. And it's just so peaceful. You can just hear the rhythms of the water, and that's about it. And you don't hear anything else. You're just away from everyone else, and it feels amazing. It's so like therapeutic. It's meditative, and it's just you connect with yourself, and you connect with the nature, you connect with the world around you in a way that you wouldn't really be able to do. And yeah, I agree with the surrender part as well because, I went ocean swimming for the first time earlier this year, like open water swimming, and that's so much different from the pool because the ocean has a mind of its own. It will take you in directions that you don't think about. Um, and that's the joy of it, I guess. Like you're exploring things you might not necessarily have thought about. So yeah, I love it. I love it with every part of my body. But yeah, we're at the end of the podcast. Is there any final message that you would like to share with our audience? This could be a plug for something or any final words. Yeah, it's up to you. The mic is yours.
Thank you, Aadi. Yeah, I would, if you'd like to follow the swim project, I'd love you to look at me up on Instagram at the swim project. I'm also on LinkedIn, Jacqueline Wong, and also Facebook at the swim project. But yeah, you can keep posted of all our swim adventures and testimonials from our clients. But most of all, I hope this conversation has maybe sparked that curiosity of what the swim journey could look like for you. And maybe even just exploring, like if you are someone with a fear of water, maybe even just starting to explore and research is there a swimming teacher, adult swimming teacher or coach who can support you, who is nearby and can support you. And if you're in Melbourne, definitely reach out to me, www.theswimproject.com.au.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's great, Jacqueline. We'll put all those links in the description. Um, but yeah, thank you so much for your time today. It's great talking to you. And to our audience, I hope you enjoyed listening. See ya.